Hi, this is Charles Kelly. Now, many of my friends will know that I'm a great Elvis Presley fan, and many of them have probably seen me doing an embarrassing Elvis Presley impressions during a sort of karaoke session. But I'm not here to talk about that or promote myself. It was only I'd obviously seen all the Elvis Presley documentaries and the movies, and I knew about Colonel Tom Parker, this Svengali-like manager. But I always assumed that he had a lot of money when he bought Elvis's contract. But what I want to talk to you about today is how Colonel Tom Parker bought Elvis Presley's contract from Sun Records when he had no money. He was pretty much broke. He had little or no industry experience, and he certainly didn't own a record company. And this is really an incredible story. It's how he, I would say, facilitated the buyout of this contract. And I want to tell you about that story now. Now, in 1955, the mysterious Colonel Tom Parker asked the record producer and current owner of Sun Records, Sam Phillips, whether he would sell the contract for Elvis Presley. And Sam Phillips didn't want to sell it, but he said, well, I might consider it if the price is right. This is according to his son. And he named a price of $35,000, as if no one's ever going to pay that much for this contract. Obviously, he couldn't see the value of Elvis, but he put up a price of £35,000, which is probably worth about $300,000 today. I mean, it's certainly worth a fortune in Memphis. You could buy all the houses you want with that sort of money. And he never thought anybody would buy it. And, let's face it, Colonel Tom Parker at the time, he wasn't Simon Cowell. He didn't have the resources or the money to do this. But he didn't give up. Just a little bit of background on Colonel Tom Parker. He was actually a Dutch national who jumped ship when he was 18 in America, and there was apparently a story that he'd committed a murder back in Breda in Holland. So he never left America, and he never even applied for citizenship when he had the chance in the 40s to sort of regularise his stay. So he stayed as an illegal immigrant all those years. And that's one of the reasons why he never toured and never really allowed Elvis to tour, because of this shady past. This is all true story. It's all documented. I don't know about the murder. Now, he'd seen Elvis perform, and he knew he had something special. He knew that there was something there, and perhaps other people couldn't see it. And Elvis was still a raw young singer at this time, and he wanted to manage Elvis, but he realised that he couldn't do that with the current company, Sun Records, who'd made the early Elvis Presley recordings, and he realised that company could only really take him so far. It was a small company in the South, a little independent record company. But with no money in his pocket, no industry experience as such, not to that extent, how on earth was he going to pull off this deal? Now, most people would have given up. I would have thought, I'd like to do that, but no way I could do it. I haven't got the money to spend hundreds of thousands of pounds, or what is almost like millions now, and I haven't got the experience anyway. How am I going to do it? I don't own a record company. But the ever resourceful Colonel, when he didn't give up. He did something that was remarkable. He went to RCA Victor, a much bigger record company, who then put up the money to buy Elvis Presley contract out from Sam Phillips, the owner of Sun Records, for $35,000 reputedly. And in that deal, the Colonel insisted that he became the manager, and he controlled Elvis. He had a 50-50 deal, unheard of in those days, and so I think still nowadays, a 50-50 deal. So he got 50% of Elvis Presley's earnings for life, total control of him, and he even got some credits on some of the records as the songwriter. So it really was, Parker had really pulled off the deal of the century, but using none of his own money, because he didn't have any money anyway, but he did this by packaging Elvis Presley's contract and taking it to a much larger concern, in this case RCA Victor, and then in the process putting himself in as manager, so use other people's resources and this in turn led to turning his young protege into a worldwide superstar. Unbelievable deal of the century, I think, in terms of music business. Now, Elvis Presley went on to, of course, star in Hollywood movies. He had #1 records all over the world. He went on to sell 600 million or estimated between 600 million and a billion records, making him still the biggest solo selling artist in the world of all time. Incredible career. And yet, a lot of people felt that Colonel Tom Parker wasn't necessarily a good manager. He made some bad decisions for Elvis, but nevertheless, the power of this Elvis, this guy that really transformed music and for a whole generation, was just there and just carried him through whatever rubbish films that Colonel Tom Parker made him act in. In fact, Elvis, it's reputed that he wanted to star. He was offered a role in West Side Story, but Colonel Parker, you can't do that. That's not for you, but he did make some bad, and he never allowed him to tour, and there was all sorts of stories around it. But nevertheless, he took him from this Southern boy singer into becoming an international superstar. And he's still a superstar today. I mean, his music's still played. There's more Elvis impersonators than any other artist, I think. But I think what it proves, what I'm trying to say here, is that this same principle applies to other businesses. You can do the same thing in a property deal, for instance. You don't have to have your own money to buy a property or to sell a property. You can package up a property deal and sell it to another investor for a fee without ever actually physically owning the property or completing on the property and paying taxes on the property. Let's face it, Parker never owned Elvis's contract. He facilitated the deal and in the process made himself the manager and took it from there. I'm sure it's not just as simple as that, but he had to have good negotiation skills. He had to know what he was doing, but he pulled off this deal of the century. So there you go. That's the story of Elvis and Colonel Tom Parker. And I think you can do the same thing in property. If you'd like to know more about that, check out the links below. You can learn how to package deals for yourself and use some of the strategies that can make people very, very wealthy in property using none of their own money and without ever having to even buy a property. So there's lots of analogies you can draw with this packaging idea, but it has been done many, many times, and I think that the story of Colonel Tom Parker, this mysterious figure, is just fascinating, and I'm always fascinated by stories of Elvis and seeing the raw power of the young Elvis. So I'm not going to sing any of his songs, but I just thought I'd share that story with you today, and I hope you're having a good day and enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you very much. Bye for now.